Hi everyone, I'm Miranda and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm joined by my mum Donna.
Hello.
For our regular Friday Tea Reads episode. Only of course this is our first Friday in December, so as you can see we've gone full on Christmas. And we're really looking forward to a festive series of Tea Reads episodes throughout December. So we're going to be baking Christmassy goodies together and then sharing some of our favourite festive extracts and short reads with each other by the fireside when we get to eat our nibbles.
That sounds wonderful.
I'm really excited. So today we are baking mince pies.
Yes.
That wonderful Christmas classic.
Truly seasonal food, isn't it?
Yes,
you only eat them really in December.
Yes, and it just always marks the beginning of Christmas for me.
Yes.
And we haven't had mince pies yet.
No, this is going to be our first lot of the season.
Yes.
So it'll be wonderful.
So I'm extra excited.
Oh, good, good.
So I'll link the recipe as always in the description box down below. We're baking from Nigella's Christmas, and this is a Nigella Lawson recipe, but it's available on her website. So I will link to it. But we love her mince pies, don't we?
We do. They're really
classic,
classic. Yeah.
Really tasty. So let's get started. What do we need?
Well, this has been in the freezer, so it's very cold, but it's a mix of plain flour and cut up. She recommends sort of a vegetable shortening called Trex. It used to be Crisco, I think you would call it in the States, but I couldn't have that, so I just used another one that they had in the Sainsbury's, and butter, so it's half and half.
Yeah.
There's also, I always add in, as you know, I'm a great believer in sweet pastry, I add in a tablespoon of icing sugar.
Yes,
I just
that's
like
your trick.
that. Yes, I just like that. This has been 20 minutes in the freezer, just so it makes
really
nice
cold,
and then it just all comes in to the food processor, which is going to do all the work for me.
That's really nice. You have flour in there too, didn't you?
Yeah, plain flour. Yeah, sorry if I didn't say that. So that's it, and that's just really simple. And she says it depends on the size of your mince pies, but you can make sort of small, medium, or large. It's up to you.
Yes.
And
we like to make a mix of kind of mini ones and I suppose medium-sized ones.
I think this would be big.
Big. Okay.
Yeah, I think these would be big. So yeah, they're quite
mini and large is what we go for.
But so then you just go turn it on. There we are, all nicely mixed up like bread.
That is really simple, isn't it?
And then you're going to add, and she likes the juice, actually she uses orange juice for this. Now what I will say is, in the past, I've not had an orange, or I've only had half an orange or whatever. Don't panic, you can use ice water.
Okay.
And you can just add a little bit of Grand Marnier to it if you've got it.
Oh, that's a clever tip.
Yeah, and if you don't, just use ice water. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
And I use between my oranges, I've noticed this before, generally between 50 and 60 millilitres. So sort of about 55 if you can, if you have to substitute with ice water, use that. So that's good. And then we'll just turn it on. And you hear the change when it starts to really clump together.
Yes,
you don't want to make
a
ball, right? You want it still to be sort of a little bit.
But it's just starting to come together.
It's just starting to come together. Yeah. And just watch it and let it do that. And then what I do is I just dump it then all into a bowl. So that's what I find the easiest way to do this. If you can overmix it, if you just leave it in the
food process
too long. So just get it, and you'll just see it's all sort of
just starting to come together, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
And you just get all the bits out. And then at this point, because you're not doing it very much with your hands, this is the bit where you get your hands stuck in. And
so it's quite fun.
It is, and you make it into the ball. I like this bit.
Yes.
Knead it together. So it makes a ball and basically wipes your bowl clean.
Right, yes, yeah.
But I
That's
think
often the trick.
for me, the thing with mincemeat and making mince tarts and things like that, mince pies, is that you use the pastry method that you're most confident with. What you want with this is something easy, non-fuss, and that you feel comfortable and confident doing. Because it should be fun. It should be nice. You don't. I think sometimes
you don't need a lot of stress.
You
in the
don't.
kitchen,
You
which
don't.
can be hard to avoid at Christmas because there's often a lot of expectation to cook a lot or really
and make traditions with your children. So if you're somebody who dreads the idea of the pastry, just buy pastry. You can buy perfectly nice ready-made pastry.
True. And Lorraine Pascal, I think, does this really nice recipe with puff pastry, that you buy ready-made, and she sort of twists it, twists squares of it into stars and just plops a little mincemeat in the middle.
Oh, lovely.
So it's quite easy, but it looks really tasty.
Yes.
And I've always thought that was a really good idea too.
I think so. I think what you want is that they came out of there. Now, Nigella divides these into 3 because she's going to make 36. I'm going to aim to make 12 big ones.
Yeah.
So I'm going to divide it into 2. And if you want to be really fussy, you can always weigh them, but I don't bother.
No.
Because then you're going to stick this in the fridge for just 20 minutes to get it good and cold for the rolling out stage.
Yeah, so we just cover it.
Yeah, just cover it, pop it in the fridge, and then do that.
Cold.
But I do think what I always had the dream of doing was to make sort of, when I was a child, my mother and my aunt and my grandmother all went to my aunt's house this time of year, and usually I was quite a sickly child, or I didn't like school that much anyway, and I always seemed to get to go along.
You were the spoiled
youngest
child, that was what it was.
It was. And I would watch them, and they often, every year I think, would do this together, and my mum's job was, she was always the washer-upper. She made the tea, she kept an eye on me, she generally sort of helped generally, but she certainly, she didn't love cooking, so she didn't do too much of that. My gran was the real pastry maker in the family, that was her job, and Auntie Con would have made mincemeat, and she would be the one popping the mincemeat in. My mum or even I might be allowed to pop the tops on. But it was really communal, but it was fun, and we chatted, and there were lots of cups of tea, and it was just really nice. And I wanted those traditions for you. So, I think nowadays we can look at blogs especially and think, but that's perfect. I could never do that. And I think, that's not what children need.
No, it's not. It's not about the perfect when it's homemade.
No, it
is nice to actually see that something is homemade and not
exactly.
That's what I like to say.
That's what we've always said. Yeah, that's our story.
All right, so I'm going to pop these. You flattened them a little bit.
I have into discs
to prepare them.
Yeah.
And I'll pop these in the fridge, and we'll be back in 20 minutes or so.
See you then.
And we're back. So we've got our discs out of the fridge, they're nice and cold, and going to start rolling out, making the pastry.
We are.
And then we've got our own mincemeat as well to fill them with, which I'm excited about. Obviously this again is somewhere where you could cut time and effort and buy mincemeat.
Of course.
You don't have to make it yourself, and we've bought mincemeat in the past.
Certainly, yes. Sometimes it's useful to have one to make that last minute fruitcake type thing that we make sometimes.
Yes, we make a really good fruitcake sometimes.
Tuck box fruitcake, and that takes a jar of
mincemeat, store-bought. Often is what we've got lying around.
But it's a lovely thing to do if you've got time. It's so simple to make your own mincemeat.
Yes, it's more a lengthy process rather than a difficult one.
Yes. You need to leave it overnight and then let it cool when you put it in the oven the next day. So it takes a while. But we do always use Delia Smith's recipe for mincemeat, which I've used for years, and I know you use as well.
Yes, good old Delia. But I'm also really enjoying Nigella. We've been watching her programme on TV, haven't we?
Oh, it's been wonderful, hasn't it? I don't know if
anyone else has been watching it, but it's the new TV series on BBC that's out to go with her book Cook, Eat, Repeat.
Yes.
And we've been watching it and getting really inspired.
Really
as always.
inspired. I've been buying some of the things to try the recipes.
Yes, I know.
That fish finger one, which sounds so good.
Sounds so good, I know. I think that's really clever.
It is,
Make
isn't
a
it?
grown-up meal out of fish fingers, such a sophisticated sounding one.
And just yummy.
Yes.
Always her things just look so toothsome, don't they?
Yes,
Just,
they do. They
she's
do.
got usually a little bit of crunch and heat and just,
Yes.
delectable.
Yes.
And to me, she's quite, she's a home cook in that she doesn't
Yes.
faff about too much, you know?
And we definitely appreciate
Yeah,
home cooks,
we do.
don't we?
So I'm just, as you can see, just rolling away here. You want it quite thin. I mean, you don't want thick pastry, you want flaky pastry with your mince pies, don't you? So you don't want great solid pastry,
No.
but you want it substantial enough so that it will hold the mincemeat. So
Yes.
not paper thin either. So just somewhere in between.
Yeah.
But this, I really like this pastry recipe because it's very good at, you can patch it up if you get a hole in it. And just,
That's
carry
always
on.
a good trick. Yes.
Carry on regardless.
You're a very good pastry maker. I mean, was it what from your grandmother then that you learned to make it? Because Nanny didn't make
No,
it a lot.
they would have definitely been making it all by hand, whereas
Yes.
I've always liked
The food processor.
food processor.
You taught yourself.
I
like,
taught
a lot
myself
of
a lot, but I
cooking.
think what they taught me was to be confident doing it and just do it and
Yes.
patch things as you go. You know, these
Yes.
things, they do give you remembering, oh yes, well, Auntie would have just patched that up a bit if there's a hole or
Yes.
whatever. It just makes you sort of more confident in what you do.
Yes. But you've always been good at not
No,
panicking over things.
I don't panic about things.
I get a lot more
She is,
stressed
she
out.
is.
You're always really calm and just
Well, I
make
think-
things work. I wish I could be more like
But
that.
you were more of that sort of child, and I realised that it wouldn't ever help you if I got panic too. So, I just tended to try and stay calm for your sake and say, oh, it'll be fine, which was probably just the way it was between us. Now, I am obviously improvising, which,
Yes. We don't have quite the right size
and
cutter.
this is traditional, isn't it? That we've never had the right size cutter.
It's
So we
true.
always use some sort of glass and you just poke it in there. It's just your normal muffin tin thing.
Yeah.
And just get as many as you can out of it.
Very good.
Thank you. So just going to pop them in. Your job is going to be
And you haven't greased the muffin
No,
tins.
not for this.
Don't
You don't need to. They'll come out fine.
Yeah.
That's a famous last words. But no, they should come out fine.
Yes.
But yes, whatever size, and obviously if you've got smaller tins, you probably will have a proper size cutter. But for these ones, they're quite big, aren't they?
I suppose they are
Yeah.
quite big actually.
And I've found over the years that I just use this size of glass for them.
Yes. Well, that's good. I like
Yeah.
that. You learn your own little tricks in
You
the
do.
kitchen, don't you?
You do. I
Yes.
mean, in a perfect world, I think I would have actually obviously bought the right cutter.
Well, we've moved so many times
Yeah.
that so many of our kitchen utensils have just got lost along the way.
They have. I mean, I used to have a lovely marble board for rolling pastry, and I do miss that. But, in the end, an old wooden table or a countertop will work just as well.
Exactly. I mean, I think that's the thing, you can get a bit too hung up on
Yeah.
perfect utensils when clearly a glass can work just as well.
I mean,
You certainly make it work anyway.
this is the sort of, as I said, I try and be very relaxed about doing things. And
Yes.
if sometimes you get 12, that's great. If sometimes you get 9, that's great. Don't worry about how many you cut out,
Yes.
because you can always make another lot. And especially when there's 2 of us, I used to maybe make double the amount of pastry, but when there's just 2 of us, you think, well, how many, even when we give some to our neighbours, drop them
Yes.
over, and you think, well, there's only so many mince pies, isn't there?
Yes, so we're not so worried about quantity this year, but other years you definitely had to make more.
That was part of a lot of your childhood.
Yes.
We used to do, and they keep very well in a tin with.
They do keep well, and you can freeze them
very well.
Yes,
3 months
freeze well.
I mean, I don't know why, but if you wanted to get an early start, you could and just freeze them.
Yeah.
That's great as well. If any of them, when you put them in, this one's just done it where you get a little bit of a hole, just sort of push it together and that's fine.
Yes, it's very forgiving pastry.
Yes, that's what the type of pastry you want to have.
Yes.
For me, for this, because the star of this is, to me, it's doing it. It's doing it together, having them, having the taste of it, the lovely mince meat, the smells.
Yes.
They're best warm from the oven with a little bit of sugar on the top. Sometimes, if we're having them dessert, I make brandy butter, which is
so good.
Nigella has a good recipe, and that makes lovely with some whipped cream or ice cream.
Yes, it's true. It makes an amazing dessert.
It does at this time of year.
That just makes them a bit more special, even.
It does, but I think when you're having them with a cup of tea in the afternoon or coffee, you just want some sugar on the top.
Or with a glass of mulled wine in the evening.
Sounds very nice to me, yeah.
Sometimes we do that.
We all know that really Santa and his reindeer like a mince pie.
Yes, and a drop of port or glass of mulled wine.
Yes.
He's
rather Madeira. Yeah. And, do you know, I remember once making for your dad, like I think we made 100.
I don't remember.
Yeah, he loves mince pies.
Wow.
Not so fond of maybe Christmas pudding, but he took them into work, I think, and things like that. So.
Oh yes, he would have been popular that day.
And my mum and her mother and my aunt, they were always
loved mince
They
pies.
did, and they made in those days you saved tins from biscuits, and they'd come out every year, and I can still picture the sort of tins.
Mince pies. That's a big part of my childhood too.
I think I did the same thing too.
Remembering these tins of mince pies and sausage rolls.
Yes,
that's the other standard. Always at Christmas time.
No, it's true. Sausage rolls, mince pies, and Christmas cake, I think, were the standards that we always had.
Yes.
So sometimes when you're doing them, like rolling out the bits, you just use everything up.
Yes.
You'll find that you just want to put a touch more flour down if it starts to stick a bit. Don't over flour it. Just, as sort of a little bit like this is good.
Yeah.
So here we go. Mm-hmm.
Well done.
I can just sneak one in there.
Yes. Well done.
And then there should be enough, once we do the other bit, because that chops are smaller, we'll have enough left to do the spare one.
Yes.
So we'll be fine.
Wonderful.
In these go. So if you'd like to open that up.
Yes.
And we'll give it now. I made this earlier.
Smells amazing, I have to say.
And because I knew we'd be making these straight away, I just popped this one in the fridge. The rest I covered with greaseproof paper and have got them in the larder.
Yes.
In a cold, dry, dark cupboard.
And that's the best way to store it.
Yes, not that you can freeze it too or keep it in any container in the fridge actually. It's just that you want to use it up quickly. But we no doubt will stir that up for me because it gets a bit solid when it's been in a cold.
Oh yes. Oh, this does just smell like Christmas though. It's amazing.
Well, when you make your own mincemeat, you can really decide how you want to do it. Like for instance, I don't like cherries in mincemeat, and I know that some of the ones that you buy have that, and it's just personal, isn't it? What you like and what you don't.
Yes, I think we go for a very classic.
We do,
recipe, don't we?
Yeah, I use almonds. Some people like walnuts and things like that. But I like almonds, so that's what I put in it.
Yes.
It's just how you like it. Yeah. Good.
So stirred it up a bit.
That's good. So now the worst mistake you can make, not to scare you, with mincemeat is to overfill
Yes.
them.
Yes. I've done that.
Because then they sort of don't look as nice and they bubble up and can stick a bit.
Yeah.
So you want a scant teaspoon, I would say. So if you want to use a teaspoon, and you can start filling those for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll try to not overfill them.
Well, yeah, don't overfill because we always add a bit more if it's a bit mean looking at the end.
Just do a teaspoon.
Yeah. So sort of use another teaspoon to get it out. I always do here.
Thank you.
So this is where it's good when it's a two-person job.
Yes, that's right.
It's
a nice communal one to do, isn't it?
It is.
And we often would have Christmas carols.
Yes,
of course.
Of course.
Yes.
Sometimes we might even sing. Aren't you lucky?
Don't worry, we won't.
You're a much better singer than I am.
No, you're a better singer than I am. I'm pretty tone deaf.
No, I think I am, darling. Well, neither of us will ever make the choir.
No, let's just say that.
Yeah.
Though I do love Christmas carols, and I love going to a service at Christmas and singing
I'm going to miss that this year.
Yes, we are going to miss that this year.
I mean, it was lovely in London. We would always go to the same church for Christmas time.
Yes.
And we loved going for this sort of Sunday service before Christmas. And it was just, I love the sort of procession with the carols and things like that. It's a beautiful tradition.
Yes, it is. I always really enjoyed it. It always felt quite magical.
Yeah.
It'd be a Sunday sort of mid-December.
Yes.
We'd go.
Yes.
And it was a lovely tradition, and they'd serve an amazing afternoon tea afterwards too, which rather greedily. I always looked forward to that bit as well.
That's right. And there were lots of mince pies involved.
Oh yes, certainly.
Yeah.
A lot of mince pies. It has to be a classic for Christmas tea.
It does.
But yes, it is a fun thing to do together.
It really is.
Get the family involved.
Get the family involved.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, with traditions, you have to do them. This is what I think. You know,
it's true. To make a tradition, you've got to do it.
You have to. And I mean, I would make these perhaps 2 or 3 times during Christmas season. So, you know, we did these together a lot. When I wasn't with you, you would make them. You know.
Yes.
It was something we've just always.
And I'd be always on the phone to you. Is this what you do, or do you think this looks all right?
Or do you remember too that you'd have to send a picture, and I'd be like, yeah, that looks perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do remember. Well, I was generally always the one in my group of friends in my 20s to do a Christmas party.
Yes.
That was what I would do every year.
Yes. I think that sounds a lot of fun.
They were always fun, I must say, even though a lot of them were held in tiny apartments, studio flats and shared apartments, but we always had a lot of fun, and I did always enjoy doing a Christmas party.
Well, we nearly always did one too as well, especially in the States.
Yes.
We would often have a bunch of people come over, and like you said, it was certain things that we would make. Certainly mince pies.
Yes, certainly mince pies.
How does that look?
And if I was too busy one year, then I just bought them. But I generally did try.
So I think some of them are a bit too little. So you can put a little bit more in.
Be over cautious.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. Better to be over
a little
cautious.
bit more in that one.
Yeah.
This one.
I'm just gonna put that one on so we've got them all. Let me have a look. You don't want it heaped up, but sort of push it to the sides with the spoon. Yeah. And then for these, we like to do as Nigella does and use the star cutter.
Yes, to make the tops.
Yeah.
I think the star looks really pretty.
Me too.
The top.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you don't have a star, you could just
and if you sort of panic a bit, because this has happened to me, where all of a sudden you didn't quite half your pastry, so you end up with a small bit for the chops, then just use a smaller topping. So for instance, I've got a small heart cutter, and some years you get a small heart in the centre. When I run out of, it doesn't really matter.
Who's going to know?
Who's going to know? That's right.
That's right.
And the ones where it bubbles up and burns a bit, so those are family taste.
Yes.
So you just
Exactly.
go with things. So that's good.
Just pushing it out to the side a bit.
Put a little tiny bit more in these.
All right, you've scared me.
This one's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
A bit more on this one.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
It does tend to sort of bubble up, doesn't it? When you.
Yes, it does. Okay.
Oh, that looks wonderful. So then we're just going to plop the
The
stars
stars
on the top. You can grab them. So how many more do I
Is it
need?
pretty?
How many have I done? 1, 2, 3, 4.
How many have you done?
4. So I need
1, 2,
another
3,
8, don't I?
7, 8. Yeah.
I think
These are going to look
fun.
pretty.
Well, hopefully they'll taste delicious too.
That's the main thing.
It is.
But let us know if making mince pies is part of your Christmas tradition too.
Yes, or what you
Or
might
what you
do.
make instead.
Yes. Yeah.
What are some of the dishes you remember from your childhood that come out every Christmas?
I mean,
Love
two
to know.
that you've sort of taught me and that we now do are you make fudge and
Yes.
candied nuts, don't you?
Yes, I'm sure I'll be sharing these with
Or
you.
spicy ones are even better. I think the spicy ones.
Yes.
Whoops, just plopped that one.
Oops.
That's a bit of a failure, but never mind.
Never mind. Yes, I make homemade peppermint fudge, which is a huge winner, especially with any men in your life. Somehow, for some reason, men always adore that.
I love your chocolate bark as well.
Oh yes,
Yes.
I like that too.
Yeah.
That's more for the women in your life.
Yes,
I seem
perhaps, that's
to
right.
enjoy that one. That's funny, isn't it? But
Sausage rolls are sort of unisex pleaser.
yes. But yeah, so peppermint fudge I make pretty much every Christmas, and roasted cashews with sugar and rosemary.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
They're amazing.
Yeah,
but I'm sure I'll be sharing them in an upcoming video at some point because they're really good to make as homemade gifts for people.
Yeah. I'm going to roll, it's getting a bit thin on the edges, so I'm going to
Okay.
roll it up again.
We just need 3 more.
Okay, well, we've got plenty for that. So.
Yes.
But this is why I always save the little bits. So
Oh, that's clever. Any little scrap. In
save
case you
it.
run out.
Yeah, because you don't want to feel like you're panicking.
No.
And put a tiny bit more
Oh, all
mince
right.
in that one. It's nice to be the mum. Bit bossy here.
No. There we go.
Lovely. Just get these.
I'm excited about these.
Wow.
Lovely Friday treat.
I think they're going to be our first taste really of Christmas so
Yes.
far.
And we still have to write Christmas cards this weekend.
Oh,
don't we?
yeah.
We're a little bit behind. So these will be nice to have while we're writing
It's
our
nice to do
Christmas
something
cards.
like that and have the music playing and we'll
Yes.
each sit down. You'll be at your desk, I'll be
Yes.
almost certainly at the table.
Yes.
We'll have our ways of doing things.
Yes,
and-
I know. It's nice to make a little ritual
Yes,
almost
it
out of
is.
it.
We'll have
Yes.
to make our Christmas drink as well.
Oh, that's a
another
good idea.
thing we like to do, which I suspect you'll be sharing at some point.
I'm sure I shall on one of my Vlogmas videos.
That will be
I'm sure I'll
lovely.
be sharing lots of these recipes because they are, well, Christmas classics for us. For
They
sure.
are. They are.
But the kitchen is always a part of our tradition and rituals, I would say, which is
all about the
surprise
food,
anyone.
isn't it? Well, I feel a bit bad because we would go ice skating. Your dad was very good and took you on things like
Oh
that.
yes, and I mean London has amazing ice rinks, but I'm actually a terrible ice skater.
Yes, it's silly because you've got really strong ankles from all that ballet, but I think it's...
Yes, but dancers are often really bad ice skaters because you distribute your weight differently.
Oh, how interesting.
Well, that's what I've heard and I'm telling myself too, because I'm an awful ice skater. But in ballet, you always keep your weight back on your heels, and I think that's one of the worst things you can do.
Like when you've been falling over.
Yes, but I would always go with friends who could skate, and they would drag me around, and then I'd sort of stand at the side and watch them drink hot chocolate.
That's the best part.
Yes. But yes, always loved that.
And we would always, of course, go to the ballet. I mean, not only would you be
I mean,
performing,
missing that
certainly.
this year as well.
Because in London we would go to something
at the Royal Opera House, and it was so special.
Yeah.
Or sometimes we'd go to the E&O.
They actually do a lovely nutcracker.
They do a lovely nutcracker.
Yeah.
And that was always so special. And another thing I will miss a bit from London is almost every year I would go to the Swedish church.
Oh yes.
For their Christmas festival, because I love Scandinavian Christmas goodies too.
You've got some Scandinavian blood in
I'm
you.
Norwegian blood, so we went to the Norwegian church in Hampstead.
We
Do you
did.
remember?
I do. Or was it Danish? I thought it was Danish, that
Was
one.
it?
Maybe it was Norwegian, I can't remember.
I think it was, but maybe I've got it wrong.
No.
But the one I went to the most was the Swedish church.
Yes.
And they would do the most amazing.
Marylebone way.
Yes, kind of near Edgware, I think.
Ah, lovely. Yeah.
And I started going when I was an undergraduate. I think I walked to the church from where I lived, and started going every Christmas. I had some Scandinavian friends actually.
Yes.
We went together,
Lovely.
and it was so much fun. And every year I would buy their mulled wine.
Oh, they're
Do you remember
glug.
that?
Was it
Yeah, I don't
glug
know
or
quite how
something
you
like
say
that?
it.
Yes.
Yeah, something like glug. No, I'm mispronouncing it, I'm sure. And they did the best mulled wine, and I learned a trick from doing it. Or from having it actually.
Yes.
Whilst we were shopping, we'd also have some. And they would soak almonds, cut almonds,
Flaked,
raisins,
sort of
flaked almonds, and raisins in brandy at the bottom of like your cup, and then top it up with the mulled wine. And oh my goodness, it was so good. And now that's always how I do my mulled wine.
It really works as well.
It does.
Plus they look so pretty, the glasses with the little raisins and flaked almonds,
just at
brandy at the bottom,
Yes,
and then you
I
pour
know.
it in.
And yes, I started doing that for all my Christmas parties.
Yes.
Which is making me crave mulled wine a bit now.
This weekend, it's in the future, isn't it?
So, but I will miss that from London.
Yes,
But,
I'm sure you will.
In the future, at least we'll be able to travel
Yes,
back
why
to
not?
London.
Last one, darling.
Oh, amazing.
And then what I do with the bits that are left over is I just sort of cook these, and then when those are out, I'll put a couple more in at the end. So I'm just going to leave this to finish off.
Yes.
When
So we're going to pop these in the oven. How long do they take?
They really only take 10 to 15 minutes.
Yes,
about
you've
12
got to
minutes
really
an
keep
hour.
your eye on
We've
them.
got a fan oven, so I use about 200, but normally it's quite a high oven, so 220 to 200, depending on your oven.
Yes.
Keep your eye on
They look
them.
lovely. I'll show you close up. You can see our little mince pies with stars.
Looks delicious.
It
And then
does.
once they're cool, we'll be back with a cup of tea and our treats.
Yes, and sharing some of our favourite festive reads. So see you then.
See you.
And we're back. The mince pies look gorgeous. Let me show you.
They do look good. It smells very good in here.
It does. It smells amazing. We made some tiny ones just out of the scraps
Yes, waste not
that
one
were
lot.
left. Yes, that's definitely our philosophy, isn't it?
It is.
Well, tuck in.
Okay, I'm going to try
one. Okay,
Yeah.
big ones.
Oh.
Amazing.
Christmas has started.
First
Excellent.
mince pie of the season.
But thank you, Nigella. It's a wonderful recipe.
It is. Delicious. Someone commented they feel sorry when we don't finish things, and the truth is it's very hard to talk with your mouth full. Hence why we finish our cakes after the camera.
Exactly, they don't go to waste.
They don't. That's so delicious. Lovely cup of tea as well.
Good, we aim to please here. Yeah.
Well, I can't wait for the readings.
Oh, well, I can't wait to see what you've chosen. We don't always know what the other has chosen. Sometimes it's a surprise, and it definitely is today. So we were both running around a lot this morning, so
Yes.
I don't know.
Well, do you want to start though?
I'll start.
I'll hand you one of yours.
Okay. It's a good job actually. We know that we're not going to each do the same thing, because at least we haven't got double copies. So that's safe.
That's true. So tell us what your book is.
My book is a lovely, it's a memoir. It's E.M. Shepherd's Drawn from Memory. This is a lovely edition. It's the slightly foxed edition. I think they're such lovely little books.
Yes.
Got beautiful illustrations.
Yes. Well, he did Winnie the Pooh, of course.
And I absolutely love these books. They're about his childhood. So
Yes.
there's two of them, isn't there? Drawn from Memory, and then there's the other one, which I can't remember.
Oh,
the name
I've
of it
forgotten
now.
as well. But yeah, Slightly Fox have done both of them.
They're
And it's
really
just a lovely
lovely.
rendition of a Victorian childhood.
It is. So this starts. Christmas Eve was a murky day, and we spent most of it putting the final touches to our decorations. We had no Christmas tree. In my short life, I had only once seen a Christmas tree, and that was in the hall of our friends, the Milners' house. It was gaily decorated with paper flags and candles, and led me to extract a promise from Mother that we should have one day. In the dining room and drawing room, our decorations were confined to holly, but Cyril and I, Cyril's his brother, let ourselves go in the kitchen. We had bought at Coles for a few pence coloured paper streamers that opened like a concertina. By joining several together, these could be hung right across the kitchen ceiling. We dragged the kitchen table from one side to side and climbed on it, fixing the streamer rather precariously with nails and pins. However, when we'd finished and were admiring the effect, Lizzie reluctantly agreed that it did look gay. She was not much in sympathy with our activities and wanted to know who was going to clear up the mess we had made. After tea, we children sallied forth with Martha to do some final shopping. Park Road was very much alive. All the shops were open, and the little stationers had a show of cards in the window. Tinsel, snow and robins with appropriate mottos. In front of the poulterer's shop, a small crowd was gathered for the selling off, cheap, of the remaining turkeys. They were scraggy birds, quite unlike the fine, plump fellows with coloured rosettes stuck on their breasts, which had hung there a few days earlier. Martha and Ethel went into Coles, while Cyril and I gazed in the windows. Even White's the chemist had celebrated the occasion by having holly and white cotton wool amongst the medicine bottles. Martha told us that the shops would stay open quite late, and we were reluctant to go home. When we eventually got back, we were in time to see a boy with a large basket by the area gate. It was the turkey, a great big one, and Lizzie was saying, "It's bigger than was ordered, and I hope it will go in the oven." Then Father came out and gave the boy a shilling. I had sent off my Christmas cards, not many, but each of the aunts had to have one. Then, of course, Father and Mother, these were put by till tomorrow, and there were Gussie and Lizzie and her sisters. It was fortunate that I did not have to buy all these cards with my own meagre savings. Mother always kept such of last year's cards as had no writing on them or only in pencil. And we were able to use these again. The pencil marks were erased, usually quite ineffectually, with a rather grubby piece of Indian rubber, and a greeting written on top, heavily in ink to help in the disguise. The procedure was fraught with dangers, and I was only saved from disaster by Mother looking over my shoulder and saying, "Darling, you can't send that one to Aunt Alicia. It's the one she sent me last year."
Oh, that's brilliant.
That's lovely, isn't it?
Yes, something I really notice a lot from reading older books
Yes.
is how much Christmas preparations really just were a part of Christmas Eve itself.
Exactly.
It
There
was not the whole month long
not
that it is
at all.
now, really.
No.
Which is interesting.
And how fascinating that Christmas trees weren't that common.
Yes.
He'd only seen one as a small boy.
I know, exactly. Even though it was in Victorian times that they certainly were starting to be popularised.
Yes, but obviously perhaps not in the sort of middle class household.
Yes, it's interesting. That was lovely.
Very interesting.
Shall we alternate today?
Yes,
maybe?
that would be lovely. Why not?
So, one extract I wanted to share, because it's so nice with just sharing some extracts as well as short reads, is I get to talk about books that aren't just Christmas books,
That's
but
lovely.
have some lovely Christmassy bits in them.
Yeah.
And in Mary Wesley's Not That Sort of Girl, there's a lovely scene at the beginning of the book where the young woman in the story goes to a Boxing Day tennis party, which she thinks sounds an awful idea. Who wants to play tennis the day after Christmas in the freezing cold? But it's an indoor tennis court, and her parents persuade her to go because they're meant to be eligible bachelors
Oh, wow.
at this party. This is pre-World War II era. And there she meets a man who, in fact, is destined to become her husband. But she also, at this party, meets the love of her life,
Wow.
who is a different man. And it's a real case of love at first sight. She walks into the library and he's there. And they instantaneously fall in love and they share a Christmas tea together that I just thought sounded charming. From the warmth of the Malone's kitchen, they had brought a tray laden with teapot, buttery crumpets, bread and butter, strawberry jam, wedges of Christmas cake and mince pies. In the light from the log fire and the frosty starlight of the winter's evening, they ate, sitting side by side on the sofa. It did not seem necessary to talk. The whole of the rest of their lives stretched ahead. When they had finished, Milo took the tray back to the kitchen. Rose sat waiting for his return, listening to the distant sound of the house party. No longer playing tennis, but fooling and flirting in the drawing room at the other end of the house.
That is lovely. I mean, how perfect to meet the love of your life in a library with tea like that, isn't it?
Isn't it? And I love how they just stayed away from all the rest of the house party. They hid in the library and just gradually end up talking and falling more in love over this lovely sounding spread by the firelight. I just think that's such a romantic and charming Christmas scene.
She's so good, Mary Wesley.
Yes,
I love that book.
She is. She is brilliant. And you have another one
I
to share.
I do. Okay, so this is from One Woman's Year by Stella Martin Curry. It's the Persephone edition. We've been both dipping in and out of this all year. It's a lovely book. I probably will do the same next year. I feel it's that type of book. You can always look at it again.
Yes.
And this is rather lovely because it is an extract from Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte.
Because she includes extracts as well as her own writing in this
Exactly,
book,
yes, she does.
It's
a little bit of anthology too, as well as her own things.
Yes.
After playing lady's maid to Kathy and putting my cakes in the oven and making the house and kitchen cheerful with great fires befitting Christmas Eve, I prepared to sit down and amuse myself by singing carols all alone. I smelt the rich scent of the heating spices and admired the shining kitchen utensils, the polished clock decked in holly, the silver mugs ranged on a tray, ready to be filled with mulled ale for supper. And above all, the speckless purity of my particular care, the scoured and well-swept floor. I gave due inward applause to every object, and then I remembered how old Earnshaw used to come in when all was tidied and call me a cant lass and slip a shilling into my hand as a Christmas box. And from that I went on to think of his fondness for Heathcliff, and his dread lest he should suffer neglect after death had removed him. And that naturally led me to consider the poor lad's situation now, and from singing I changed my mind to crying. It struck me soon, however, that there would be more sense in endeavouring to repair some of his wrongs than shedding tears over them. I got up and walked into the court to seek him. He was not far. I found him smoothing the glossy coat of the new pony in the stable and feeding the other beasts according to custom. "Make haste, Heathcliff," I said. "The kitchen is so comfortable and Joseph is upstairs. Make haste and let me dress you smart before Miss Cathy comes out. And then you can sit together and with the whole hearth to yourself and have a long chatter till bedtime." He proceeded with his task and never turned his head towards me. "Come, are you coming?" I continued. "There's a little cake for each of you, nearly enough, and you'll need half an hour's donning."
I love that start to that extract.
Yes, yes.
She's admiring her kitchen.
I love that.
Gleaming utensils.
Yeah, when
the fragrant smell.
Exactly. She
Yes.
feels so comfortable and relaxed at that moment.
Yes, and the kitchen is really a haven.
It is.
In that scene, isn't it?
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. That was my second one. What's your second one?
Well, I love to read A City of Bells by Elizabeth Goudge around this time of year. I tend to flick forward to the Christmassy scenes because so many of Elizabeth Goudge's books have wonderful Christmas scenes in them. And this has a truly delightful Christmas party and an amazing tree. So I wanted to read this bit. "Few lovelier rooms were to be met with at this time in England than the gallery of the Bishop's Palace at Torminster. It stretched the whole length of one wing of the palace and was perfectly proportioned for its length. The polished floors shone like dark water, and the linen fold panelling on the walls roused the students of these things to ecstasy. At each end of the gallery, a log fire was blazing, its glow reflected on floor and walls, and in the centre was a Christmas tree, its top reaching to the ceiling, and its branches laden with twinkling candles and presents done up in coloured paper. The choir boys stood in an excited group near the tree, looking terribly clean in their Etons, their faces shining with soap and their eyes with expectation, while near them stood the dignitaries of the close with their dependents, smiling with the urbanity of those who feel themselves to be in the position of benefactors, but yet have had no bother with the preparations. It was certainly a great occasion, and from the walls of the gallery the former bishops of Torminster looked down upon it from their portraits, the flickering firelight playing queer tricks with their painted faces, so that some of them seemed to smile at the happiness and some to frown at the frivolity, while one gentleman at the far end of the room was distinctly seen by Henrietta to raise a hand in blessing. And then it goes on, and it's the most marvellous Christmas party the children have, and the choir boys in particular. This is really a party for them.
Yes.
They stuff themselves with an amazing tea.
I think mince pies are involved.
I'm sure they are. But there are some lovely Christmassy scenes.
Yes.
So that's one of my favourites.
Wells.
It is.
Yes,
it is.
I've always wanted to go there and see the cathedral.
I
never
know.
have.
And picturing that gigantic Christmas tree,
Oh,
I think it just
beautiful.
sounds so beautiful. So, Andy, your last one.
Thank you. This will
Miss
not
Reed,
yes.
what a surprise.
Our anthology. Well, as you said, this has been a big part of your childhood, a big part of my life. I've carried this book around.
Yes.
I'm very fond of it, and there's some lovely selections. So I've chosen 2 poems from here, but I'll read the first one first.
Yes.
So the first one is from John Betjeman's Christmas, which I'm very fond of this poem. The bells of waiting Advent ring, the tortoise stove is lit again, and lamp oil light across the night has caught the streaks of winter rain. In many a stained glass window sheen, from crimson lake to hooker's green. The holly in the windy hedge, and round the manor house the yew, will soon be stripped to deck the ledge, the altar, font and arch and pew, so that the villagers can say, the church looks nice on Christmas Day. And is it true? And is it true? This most tremendous tale of all, seen in the stained glass window's hue, a baby in an ox's stall, the maker of the stars and sea, become a child on earth for me. And is it true? For if it is, no loving fingers tying strings around these tissued fripperies, the sweet and silly Christmas things, bath salts and inexpensive scent, and hideous ties so kindly meant. No love that in a family dwells, no carolling in frosty air, nor all the steeple-shaking bells can with this single truth compare, that God was man in Palestine and lives today in bread and wine.
That's such a lovely poem. That's one of my very favourite Christmas poems.
The essence of Christmas, and even the, how does he put it? He says, the silly frippery. Yes, the sweet and silly Christmas things. And you think, yes, but this describes so lovingly. He's so good at the commonplace, but also the mystical part of it.
Yeah.
I just love that poem. I'll hold on to that for my last one, and you go now.
So I wanted to read one of the very special letters from this book, which is J.R.R. Tolkien's Letters from Father Christmas. And these are the letters that he so lovingly wrote to his children. And this lovely centenary edition is absolutely gorgeous. All of the letters and the special envelopes and stamps and things that he made are reproduced in this. And he really developed a whole world about the North Pole and Father Christmas, and certain characters reappeared. Oh, well, of course.
Yes.
And the letters were just stunningly done. He even, did a special font and everything, and his own illustrations. Let me show you. And a character that reappears throughout the letters is the polar bear. But I wanted to share this one. From Cliff House, top of the world, near the North Pole, Monday, December 20th, 1926. My dear boys, I am more shaky than usual this year. The North Polar Bear's fault. It was the biggest bang in the world and the most monstrous firework there has ever been. It turned the North Pole black and shook all the stars out of place, broke the moon into 4, and the man in it fell into my back garden. He ate quite a lot of my Christmas chocolates before he said he felt better and climbed back to mend it and get the stars tidy. Then I found out that the reindeer had broken loose. They were running all over the country, breaking reins and ropes and tossing presents up in the air. They were all packed up to start, you see. Yes, it only happened this morning. It was a sleigh load of chocolate things, which I always send to England early. I hope yours are not badly damaged. But isn't the North Polar Bear silly? And he isn't a bit sorry. Of course he did it. You remember I had to move last year because of him. The tap for turning on the roaring-boring anus fireworks is still in the cellar of my old house. The Norse polar bear knew he must never, never touch it. I only let it off on special days like Christmas. He says he thought it was a cut-off since we moved. Anyway, he was nosing around the ruins this morning soon after breakfast. He hides things to eat there and turned on all the Northern Lights for 2 years in one go. You have never heard or seen anything like it. I've tried to draw a picture of it, but I'm too shaky to do it properly. And you can't paint fizzing light, can you? I think the polar bear has spoilt the picture rather. Of course, he can't draw with those great fat paws. There's a note from the polar bear, rude, I can, and write without shaking. By going and putting a bit of his own in the middle about me chasing the reindeer and him laughing. He did laugh too. So did I when I saw him trying to draw reindeer and inking his nice white paws. A Merry Christmas to you from the Norse polar bear and love from Father Christmas to you all.
That is so,
it's so special,
wonderful.
isn't it? I loved this book when I was little. And
Yes.
this gorgeous
new edition
is amazing. It's such a work of art and a real tribute to a man who did such intricate letters out of love for his family.
I think it's wonderful, and he did them for many years.
Yes. Oh, until they were well into their 20s.
I bet they didn't want him to give up. I would maybe someone do another one.
Yes,
you know?
exactly.
Yes. So my last one is a poem, another one, and it's Shakespeare. Give me a last taste to Shakespeare here. When icicles hang by the wall, and Dick the shepherd blows his nail, and Tom bears logs into the hall, and milk comes frozen home in pail. When blood is nipped and ways be foul, then nightly sings the staring owl. To-wit, to-woo, a merry note, while greasy Joan doth keel the pot. When all aloud the wind doth blow, and coughing drowns the parson's saw, and birds sit brooding in the snow, and Marion's nose looks red and raw. When roasted crabs hiss in the bowl, then nightly sings the staring owl. To-wit, to-woo, a merry note, while greasy Joan doth keel the pot. I was thinking this last night when I heard the owls.
Yes. Poor Marion, I think my nose
yes,
as well. Oh, that is lovely though. And yes, that definitely is a poem to think of when you hear the owls at this time of year. Well, this has been wonderful. I so enjoyed our mince pies.
It's been a lovely
time by the fire. It's getting dark outside
now. It's
now.
really dusky now, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So it's time to say goodbye.
Yeah.
But I do hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. And you can subscribe to my channel by clicking on my face that pops up on the screen. I'll be back again very soon with another video, another Vlogmas video, which I'm excited about. And of course, we'll be back with another Tea Reads next Friday. So until then, goodbye.
Bye-bye.